Good morning. It is D-Day.
Demolition Day, yeah.
Or maybe I-Day.
Mm-hmm.
Implosion.
Yeah.
December 13th, 1994. That was a sad day in the state of hockey.
This good old building behind us has a lot of memories tucked away in the last 27 years, but the building itself will become a memory in just a matter of minutes.
When the building came down, people were in mourning. To lose a vital part of the pro sports, being the North Stars, was gone.
If you had told me a couple years ago that one, Minnesota would lose a hockey team, and two, the Met Center would be demolished, I would have told you were crazy.
I just remember a sense of disbelief and real sadness of all places that professional hockey, the NHL, could actually be leaving. I was in disbelief more than sadness. I just wouldn't accept it.
With the press of a button, 27 years of hockey history came crumbling to the ground.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire!
But when the dust finally settled, something quite remarkable happened.
The building is still standing. We still see that it is still up.
Building has not imploded.
It's still standing.
Maybe it needed more dynamite. Or maybe it was a sign from the hockey gods. A reminder that the hockey spirit in Minnesota is built upon a foundation that can never be destroyed.
Welcome to all of you from the state of Minnesota, the state of hockey.
In our world, the fans will always be number one.
Shot, score! The first official NHL goal scored at the Xcel Energy Center. Beckett, he scores! He scores! Minnesota has won!
This is the story of that foundation. The story of hockey returning to Minnesota and the 20 years of history that followed. With the North Stars gone, it took 7 long years for the NHL to return to Minnesota. But the preparation to bring pro hockey back began almost immediately.
1995, I was deputy mayor for the city of St. Paul, working for then Mayor Norm Coleman, and there was a franchise that was looking to relocate from Canada somewhere in the U.S., and they had been looking at Minneapolis. And the Target Center already had a tenant with an NBA team, and the city said it just is not going to work. Mayor Coleman said, I think we can make this work in St. Paul. We should take a look at it.
Norm, take one.
In my mind, bringing hockey back wasn't because I was a hockey fan, but as a mayor, what I was looking at is how to transform my community. Bring me 700,000 people a year downtown St. Paul, you will make a difference.
There were a lot of people around him who said, are you crazy? For an elected official and an elected official with aspirations for higher office, trying to put together a professional sports deal was a political killer.
It actually started with the effort of Richard Burke, who was a Minnesotan, who bought the Winnipeg Jets and attempted to move them to Minneapolis. But Minneapolis wouldn't accommodate them. And so in the end, he then moved his team to Phoenix, came to Phoenix Coyotes. But he said, give this guy Jack Sperling a call. He's a lawyer in Denver, knows how to do hockey deals and things like that. So I give a cold call to Sperling.
I realized that hockey should be back in Minnesota, and it was going to be a huge success. And the great advantage we had going for us is no one else thought so. At the time, everyone had a very low expectations. St. Paul was struggling, and I think part of Norm's vision for the capital city and the capital city partnership was to reinvigorate it, and the hockey team was going to be the center of it.
And at that point, we said, okay, now we got to put a franchise group together.
A new franchise meant finding a team owner, someone local, with as much passion and devotion as anyone in the state of hockey. There was only one man that fit that job description, Bob Nagley Jr.
Great leaders can inspire you. In that way, Bob Nagley and Norm had a lot in common.
And I remember walking by and seeing Bob and Bob Nagley III at a breakfast. And the son says to me, I think my dad may be interested. And sat down and had a conversation with him and could see the sparkle in his eye. And he always had a sparkle in his eye. And I walked away and I went up to him and said, I think I found our owner, our lead guy.
We didn't see Norm as crazy. We saw him as a dreamer. And my family has always wanted to kind of support dreamers, especially when it came to hockey and sports.
Honest to Pete, I fully believe that Bob Nagley believed that this was where they should be, that it was a travesty not to have an NHL team in Minnesota, and if he could do something about it, he was going to do that.
Bob III pushed him, persuaded him, you got to do this, Pop, you got to do this, you got to do this, and without that, this whole thing probably would not have happened.
When it came to the Wild project, bringing NHL hockey back, I always thought that he was the perfect guy because it was never about him, and I've said that often.
And as we like to say in Minnesota, that hockey's back.
There are three things we learned that you need to get a franchise. One, you need an ownership group. We had a pretty good ownership group. Two, you need a market, but you need a facility. You need an arena.
We initially were arguing that we could do renovations to the Civic Center to make it suitable for an NHL franchise, and Commissioner Bettman and some of the other owners came to look at the market, the building, the community, the location, meet the ownership group.
Such as luck would have it, the last event in the arena was the circus. Let's just say that there was an aroma in the arena which remained, and I think that was what struck the expansion committee most. Gary Bettman at the time turned to me and says, this is not going to work, almost as soon as we walked in the building.
The report was, we love the market, we love the ownership group, we love the location of the building, but the building's got to go. The building stinks.
Well, now we've got to go to plan B and say, okay, listen, we'll figure out a way. Commissioner, we will figure out a way to build a new arena. We will make this happen.
We brought in Ray Chandler, a brilliant architect who really led our project. And so he came to St. Paul and we started designing it with the idea of an open concourse. It was designed from the top down almost. That is the top seat at the ends of the arena. We wanted to make sure those seats, they had great sight lines. It turned out better than any of us thought it could.
On June 23, 1998, the first shovels were driven into the dirt in downtown St. Paul. The construction of a new arena was officially underway.
1, 2, 3.
Now, victory has 1,000 fathers, and defeat is an orphan. Well, I just want to welcome you all to the family of a very proud group of fathers, all of who are holding shovels here today, and many more without shovels.
And I still have that shovel. Just so you know, I was part of that first dig, and it was really an exciting time, I think, for everyone to be connected with that, and the jubilation with that, throwing the first shovelful of dirt into a pile there and seeing this thing grow and seeing the Civic Center being taken down piece by piece, and then finally the big equipment came in here and they started to build it up from the ground up.
A new arena needed a new name, something that embodied liveliness and energy.
So our management team started meeting with lots of different companies, and there's lots of great companies in Minnesota. Many of them are our partners. But when our management team met with Xcel and their management team. And the two management teams just clicked because they shared the same values. They wanted to do the same things in the community.
We were really excited to be part of the energy and the enthusiasm that came with the Wild returning, and to be part of the arena and the naming rights was really something we were quite proud of, and we knew how important it was for our customers, our communities, for St. Paul, for Minnesota.
The folks at Xcel have been incredible throughout. Every one of them has understood what hockey means to Minnesota, what this building means to our community, and they have been the most remarkable partners for us. And they are a fixture here in Minnesota too, and so I think it was the perfect marriage of two trusted companies who want to make the community better and be truly supportive.
I think we're all in this together. And we all recognize that business, whether it's sports teams or whether it's a company like Xcel Energy, if we all work together, we can accomplish a lot.
I didn't step foot in the arena until after it was complete. And I walked in, literally took my breath away. I looked around and I looked at this arena, and I felt like, Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. We're not in Kansas anymore. I mean, is this St. Paul? Is this St. Paul? Could this really be in St. Paul?
I think it's the design of the building. I think it's got a soul. The building has a soul to it.
For St. Paul, this was big. For St. Paul, this was about spirit. This was about pride. This was about revitalizing downtown. But it was also always about Minnesota and the spirit of hockey in Minnesota, which runs deep, which is real, which is pronounced. Folks will come from great hockey towns all over this state.
It's not only the energy that powers the arena, it's the energy that really makes the arena hum. The enthusiasm is just amazing, it's infectious.
This is one of those, field of dreams. If you build it, they will come. And in the end, of course, they did. They did.
By the summer of 1998, construction was well underway on the new Xcel Energy Center. And just as the arena was built brick by brick, so too was the team that would soon call this place home.
We were pretty sure that this was all going to work, this hockey thing back in Minnesota, but you never know until the phones are ringing, right? So we had some, an anxious night's sleep maybe the night before we were going live. The phones rang that day and they didn't stop. We had 6,000 deposits on season tickets after the first week. We had 12,000 within a few weeks, and we were well on our way to having a sold-out building and a waiting list.
This is great! The NHL is back in Minnesota! I'm wild!
Frankly, we were a little jealous of Detroit's hockey town idea. But we're like, hockey town, this is hockey town. Well, no, we're bigger than hockey town, and we aren't just a hockey town. We are a hockey state. For long, somebody, and I honestly don't remember who it was, except it wasn't me, that threw out the three words state of hockey. And the first time I heard it, I was like, that's pretty good. That's pretty darn good.
The Minnesota Wild won't have any players or a coach for a while, but they now have a jersey. Make that a home jersey. They'll reveal the road jersey at a later date.
Uniform. This is the sweater they will be wearing when they take the ice in October of the year 2000.
The Wild play their first game next October. Between now and then, we'll have to hire a coach and, of course, put some players in those uniforms.
Through an expansion draft, the first team roster was pieced together. It would be a tall task for anyone to get this newly formed group ready to compete. And who better to take on the challenge than Hall of Famer Jacques Lemaire?
This is a brand new team. I know that I will have to be patient. The fans will have to be patient. But I'm telling you, we're going to win our share of games.
He came to town and loved what he saw. He loved the history of the game there. He loved the high school tournament and everything it stood for. He loved the vision that we were staking out and the role that we were going to play in hockey.
I remember we went to Minnesota a little earlier because it was the first year. I didn't know the players. We got there and we had our meetings with Doug, and It was early, it was early, so I never thought that the player would be in town. But Doug tells me, he says, hey, the players are practicing at the arena. I said, they're practicing. I'm gonna go and see them. I'm looking at this and then I turn around to Mike and Mario. I said, how the hell we gonna win a game with this crew?
He had an uncanny ability of seeing a storm coming like a week before it got here. So he was able to see the game at a different level than any of us ever saw it.
Jacques always preached the fact that these fans show up every night and these fans are here to support you. Anytime that we had a little lull in our effort and our work ethic out on the ice, he brought it up a number of times that these fans deserve better than what you're giving them.
We played in this building 41 times that year. We just wanted to make sure, especially in this building, where our fans were hanging off the ceiling, couldn't wait to get hockey back. We did not want to embarrass ourselves. That was our biggest thing. And we were talking about Hall of Famers, Mario Tremblay, Mike Ramsey, Jacques Lemaire. They don't want to get embarrassed. Listen, bud, we were all nervous.
I don't have a lot of memories for many things, but certain things I do remember. The first night, how nervous, not only the players, us too, the coaching staff, we were all nervous. Got in the dressing room and I see the players during the meetings. I think their teeth were clapping, how nervous they were. So I said, hey. I remember telling them that, hey, this is a game. This is just a game. Just go up there, do your best, and nothing else.
Well, tonight is the night fans in the upper Midwest have waited nearly 3,000 days for. The National Hockey League is back in town.
Well, it was a night where Minnesota's hockey royalty came back. We didn't know what was going to happen. Everything had been scripted to that point, and now we got to the unscripted part of playing a game.
On behalf of the NHL, I want to tell you how thrilled we are to return to the state of hockey. It's obvious we never should have left.
So what I remember most about opening night was, as my dad was out on the center ice, the spotlight was on him, and out of the rafters came the chant. It was almost like the fans who remembered the North Stars leaving, remembered how angry they were at Norm Green. It was like they had exorcised that demon. The chant died down, and my dad had this sheepish look on his face. I'll never forget it. And it was priceless. He said,
"Aren't we all glad that the past is past?"
When I tell that story, I get tears in my eyes because it was such a defining moment, and it was like, okay, the Wild are here, the Wild are our new team, and we will support this new team, and the fans loved it.
So we retired the number one in honor of our fans, and I give that one to Todd Lewicki, our first president. I'm quite sure that was Todd's idea.
Well, I'm not sure whose idea it was. I know that one person I was concerned about having an opinion was a guy named Jacques Lemaire. Retiring jerseys in the world of the Canadians, that was a long, hard, incredible road of accomplishment. And here we were yet to play our first game, and we went to see the coach and said we'd like to retire the number one in honor of the fans. Everyone bought into it. And then Bob stepped on the ice and delivered the speech.
But as we begin this new era, we wanted you to know something. In our world, the fans will always be number one. And to demonstrate that commitment, tonight we will retire our first sweater
in honor of you. No Wild player will ever wear the #1 sweater. Minnesota Wild fans, you are #1.
Celebration quickly turned to anticipation when the puck finally dropped between the Wild and Flyers. But as fate would have it, a local kid from across the river was the first guy to send the decibel levels through the roof of the new building. And his name was Darby Hendrickson.
You know, I grew up in Richfield, so it wasn't far from Bloomington, and ton of memories as a kid, not only seeing North Star games, but playing state, playoffs to get to the state tournament. From a personal level, my main thing was I wanted to fit in. Yes, I was from Minnesota, but I just wanted to fit in and be a part of that team and make a difference.
Darbs is such a humble human being. In our locker room, in those early years, his nickname was Money. That's what we called him.
At the 17-minute mark of the first period, the man they called Money cashed in on the first Wild goal at the X.
Almost 18 minutes old. Shot, score! Darby Hendrickson on the goal line. And there it is. The first official NHL goal. Scored at the Xcel Energy Center by Minnesota's own.
That's just one of those moments where you're just like, did that really happen? Did that just happen?
I think they scripted Darby getting that first goal in the dressing room and said, Darby, we'll get you the puck. You just have to redirect it, is what he did.
I can tell you what happened is a guy made a good pass. His name was Maxim Suchinski. I'd love to tell you it was some great highlight goal that I dangled around people, but it really was a good play, and I got in the weak side. It was such a good pass, the goalie wouldn't even be able to push across.
I still remember being on the bench and Darbs getting down on one knee and scoring that goal and celebrating behind the net, and just from the bench watching the guys celebrate on the ice, just seeing all the fans in the background was just something that's kind of just ingrained into my head.
It was a defining moment, I think, for this hockey club. Certainly was for his family and certainly for Darby, because that's one he'll always remember.
You know what? I never got the puck. I don't know what happened to it, and the stick I used is somewhere in this building, I think in a display, but I don't know, I guess after the game he didn't even think about it. I'm sure the puck went to our trainer, and I don't know, I have no idea where it went.
At the blue line, kicked aside, shorthanded opportunity. Walsh gets it ahead to Nielsen. He works it, shot, save, rebound, they score! Shorthanded goal for Minnesota, and they lead 3-2.
I know Darby got the first one. I think I got a shorthanded goal, I think in the third period, to actually give us a lead with maybe 6 or 7 minutes left in the game, and then the Flyers scored and tied it up, and the game ended tie. Think about that. 20 years ago, the final score was 3-3. Obviously, it doesn't happen anymore, but yeah, it was an amazing evening, and one that I'll never forget.
Opening night at the Xcel Energy Center was one for the books. But it was another game slated for mid-December that the entire state of hockey had anticipated most.
If you were going to ask me what game I remember the most out of that inaugural year, the very first game or the game against the Dallas Stars, I'm going to say I remember more things about the Dallas Star game than I do the inaugural game.
The fans, the whole state was just sort of really waiting on that one, and they had been gone, they had had success, they had won a Stanley Cup.
They wanted revenge, and I'll tell you, we were more than happy to help them out with that revenge. You can feel the energy in that place. You can really feel it.
I remember coming out for warm-up and coming out on the ice, and the lower bowl that we're sitting in right now was 3/4 full, and I'm not even exaggerating. When we come out for warm-up, I remember just looking around and skating around in the corners going, this is kind of a big deal, boys.
Ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention to the Quest stage for a special introduction. He's a native of Roseau, Minnesota, and a former hockey great with the University of Minnesota and the Minnesota North Stars.
Neil Broughton did Let's Play Hockey that night, had a Dallas Stars jersey on because he had played for them.
And the crowd, shocked, but too polite to do anything but remain in shock. He played proud games for the Stars, but at the end of the day, he was a Minnesota kid.
Wild fans, it's time now. So everybody join me. Let's play hockey.
Another penalty forthcoming, and this is going to be emotional all day long. Newendike in front, puck is still free. Save made by Manny Fernandez.
For us, just the atmosphere and the energy for that building, and I don't, whether Dallas just thought it'd be kind of a game they could win and get out of town. We were just really ready.
Wes Walls stops, gets it towards Nielsen, big run, he scores! Minnesota's own Jeff Nielsen, and it's 1-0 Wild. Hendrickson, bad angle, shot, score! Peter Bartos! 3-0 for the new guys who own this town. Looking for the 6th. O'Donnell sends it towards the net. In front, score! Darby Hendrickson, his 2nd goal of the night. I love this game. The Minnesota Wild have not only beaten, they have shut out the Dallas Stars 6-0.
I'm so happy it ended 6-0 for us because we poured a lot into that game, and the fans here in the state of Minnesota deserve that.
Two goals for Darby Hendrickson.
Yeah, the crowd was unbelievable, and we sensed that, we knew that, but I think until you get into a game, you don't know how exciting it's going to be or how much they're going to play into it. But they were a huge part of our momentum, of our energy.
It was a night I'll never forget, and it was a night that hockey really, for us, that was really the final step of being back, of having it back, was beating that team. On that night, the way we did it, with Neil Broughton uttering those words, "Let's play hockey."
In the early 2000s, the Wild continued to build an identity in the National Hockey League, and out of the spotlight emerged the team's first superstar.
There's only been 2 players in this team that I've watched over the years that really take me out of my seat when I broadcast. Marian Gaborik was one of those players.
He was scoring goals around the front of the net. Pucks were coming off his stick with more velocity than a lot of guys that were on that expansion team.
He was a great teammate, and he worked hard. He wanted to be a part of the team, and he wanted to do well.
I'm surprised how, I wouldn't say how easy it was, but it was pretty smooth. I mean, I was young, I wasn't thinking a whole lot. I was just going with the flow.
He had no choice but to buy in, especially with Jock. I mean, that was just his thing. He didn't care if you were 18 years old or 38. Everybody pulled the rope the same way.
Marian Gaborik has a goal. Oh, and Nolan this time he scores!
I learned to play the right way to the point where I could be very beneficial for the team.
Held in the zone by the Wild. Lob towards a goal. Gaborik shoots. He scores!
Marian Gaborik was, no question, probably the best player that ever played on this ice with this Wild team.
The Minnesota Wild, here in year 3, are headed to the National Hockey League playoffs.
Marian Gaborik may have been a star in the making, but he alone was no match for the first-place Colorado Avalanche in the 2003 Stanley Cup playoffs.
I mean, you look at their lineup, and all these guys are in the Hall of Fame, and a team that had won a cup previous. That was a tall task.
Did we think we were going to beat the Colorado Avalanche? I don't know. we weren't going to ever say we were going to lose, but we knew that we could play with them.
Taz finds Sakic in a seam. Sakic let it go. He scores. Wow. Right back. Here's Sakic. There's the wrister, and he scores. The patented Joe Sakic wrister.
Being down 3-1 now, that was tough. And we really felt that we could have very easily been up 3-1, and we were down 3-1.
Well, we had a team meeting, and Doug Riseborough led it, and a lot of guys just got up and said, we're not done. And I remember Dwayne Rolson in specific just said, we're a team.
Guys like Jimmy Dowd and Wes Walls, I mean, they stepped up and, they were invigorated. Were they the best players in the National Hockey League? No, but they were good players, and they played for each other, and I think that's the whole thing.
We were up 2-0 going into the third period in Game 6 against Colorado just to give ourselves a crack. And then they ended up tying up the game late. And I do remember we had to hang on for dear life to get to overtime. Overtime started. It wasn't long into overtime, I think 4 or 5 minutes. We were able to get the overtime winner, and just think of it like it's yesterday. Just kick a puck out to Richard Park, and I happened to be driving through the middle, and Richard come down and blew it right through Patrick Waugh's legs.
They're onside. Here's Park from the angle. He scores! Richard Park in sudden death overtime. Game 7 tomorrow night from Denver.
Just this energy of our team, but of the fans. It's just something in this building that still, it's incredible.
Needing overtime once again, Andrew Brunette completed the comeback in Game 7, giving the Wild their first playoff series win in team history.
Across the line, here's Brunette. He moves, Brunette back in, he scores! He scores! Minnesota has won! Minnesota has upset the Colorado Avalanche! Andrew Brunette, the game-winning goal!
He always said I drew the right ticket on the right day, and it happened to be me that scored, but I think that was the mentality of a lot of us as players. We were so happy for him and so happy for our team. And it didn't matter who got it.
I thought that was the greatest experience that I would ever go through. Little did I know we'd do it again in the next series.
I can remember, Todd Bertuzzi telling the fans here, well, don't bother getting tickets for that Game 6, and this is after when it was 3-1, because we're not coming back here. Well, Todd, you did come back here, and you didn't do very well.
That's a block. One-timer score! 3-0. And that's going to do it.
We even sat the Derby on the bench, when Vancouver went ahead in that game. Well, pack your golf clubs, boys, because you're going golfing tomorrow. Well, it didn't happen that way either.
Driving towards the net, in front, wall shot, he scores! He scores! Wes Walls has tied this game at 2. Park across, Darby Hendrickson, shot, he scores! Has given the Minnesota Wild a 3-2 lead! The Minnesota Wild have made NHL history, and the Vancouver Canucks are history.
Just that whole 03 run was amazing. No one gave us any credit to win a game or two. We were way better than anyone ever gave us credit for. And to be honest with you, looking back, having those 2 series go 7 games just took so much out of us. And losing to Anaheim in 4 straight the way we did still kind of sits sour with me.
So the Minnesota Wild, who themselves had a Cinderella run beating Colorado and Vancouver, will go no further. And there's the primary reason, J.S. Jaguar.
While the Cinderella story had come to an end, the impression this team left on the state of hockey was permanent.
Goosebumps, talking about it. It was started my NHL career here, making friends. 2003 going to conference final, which everybody was writing us off when we came back. These memories, nobody's gonna take it away from you. And very grateful and thankful for the whole Minnesota state that they took me in and I was part of it.
I think this building really gathered a reputation, and you could see the waving of the towels in the playoffs, and and the enthusiasm of the fans.
It was like a big party here in the state of Minnesota for a whole month.
I think we really used the momentum of being at home over those series, both Colorado and Vancouver. Every goal we scored here in this building, people went nuts.
Throughout the 2000s, the Wild continued to build upon their 03 success. But the team wasn't the only thing growing in downtown St. Paul.
This facility is more than hockey. This will be the home to great concerts, great ice shows, kind of a beacon for St. Paul.
In 2000, Jam produced its first show at the X with Sarah Brightman, and soon thereafter was AC/DC. And so it had to build up a reputation amongst the agents and managers in the music business of being the place to play. And that's what we were always trying to sell them, was it's the best place in the Twin Cities to bring your show to. Took a couple years, but they bought into it and saw the results. Seeing is believing, and that's what happened at the X.
In the early years, we had Paul McCartney, the Rolling Stones, The Who, Bruce Springsteen.
Whether it's Clapton or Springsteen or AC/DC or Coldplay or Madonna.
There's a soft spot in my heart for any time Bruce Springsteen has been here, for the 3 consecutive nights of Prince performing here.
The high school hockey tournaments here, the girls and the boys in the February-March time frame, and just, seeing 100,000 people here in the couple weeks that they're here, filling up all the hotels and the bars and the restaurants. The 2008 Republican Convention was probably the biggest event we have done up to this time.
I remember when the Gophers won the national championship here, and I think it was in the early 2000s, had to come back in the last minute to score a goal with their goalie pulled, and then won in overtime against Maine. Pretty loud then. State high school hockey tournament gets pretty loud here. Concerts get pretty loud here. But the fans give it a soul, and that is part of the success of the building, is what the fans bring every night.
It changed the quality of life. And within those 4 walls of that building, amazing things happen. Not just games and concerts, but experiences with a father and a daughter and a mother and a son, and strangers high-fiving one another. And I believe in all of that, and it lives in spades in St. Paul at the Xcel Energy Center.
By 2008, majority owner Bob Negley was ready to hand off the keys to a new owner of the Minnesota Wild. And as fate would have it, the next leader of the franchise was already waiting in the wings.
Craig, take one.
Timing is everything in life. Bob was thinking about selling. He would move his timing up if I would be interested in becoming what he would call the next caretaker of this franchise.
Craig was the perfect person to take Bob's shoes, and they're not easy shoes to fill, but Craig's done it incredibly well because he has picked up where Bob left off. He has supported the community and really celebrating the state of hockey.
I believe if it ain't broke, don't fix it. This was not broke. This was a franchise that was well established with really great, dedicated, loyal, hardworking people. We just left it like it is and just kept rolling.
In 2012, Mr. Leopold made the first big splash of his Wild ownership career by bringing home a pair of locals in Zach Parisi and Ryan Suter.
It started probably a week before that July 4th. Some conversations going back and forth. Frankly, we were trying to get one of them. It would have been a stretch to get one. Then all of a sudden, at the last minute, we're talking to the players, and they're talking to each other, more importantly, Ryan and Zach are. They decided they wanted to go to the same city, whichever, they wanted to go to one team. And the one team that they could both agree on was Minnesota.
We kept in touch throughout the first couple days and leading up to it, but really didn't have it planned that we were going to go to the same spot. The more we talked, and then the more we did our research, and we just thought it would be a good fit for both of us.
And so it happened, and it was a game changer for our franchise. Okay, first things first, I've got to pinch myself. On behalf of our organization and fan base, I want to officially welcome Zach Parisi and Ryan Suter to the Minnesota Wild and the state of hockey.
We know how passionate the people of Minnesota are about hockey. Every time you come here, the stadium's packed and it's loud, and we know how great the fans are here.
The phones rang off the hook, and employees were coming in off golf courses and lakes to answer the phone because people wanted to buy tickets that day.
5 years later, people were still talking about that moment when they found out.
The buzz around the hockey community around the state was fantastic.
And it put us back on the map, and it legitimized the Minnesota Wild. It transformed us overnight. And next year we were a playoff team. We made the playoffs for 6 straight years coming out of those acquisitions.
The buildings, when we were playing the games in the playoffs, were electric, but even when everything finished and we ended up losing, just the excitement around the area about the team and where we were going. I feel like people could relate to us. We were kind of a blue-collar, hard-working team, and I think the fans here really appreciated that style.
It's a moment in time that was pretty special. I really believe that the game changer was the market understood that we were committed. Sitting here and it's rather sad. The building has fun when there's a lot of energy in the building. Right now it's quiet. The energy that comes from this building that gets to our players is a very special thing. To sit in an empty building, it's just not right. We'll get people here and this pandemic thing is going to be over, and let's get past it, and we're going to get this place full again, and we're going to have as much fun as we have had in the past.
Fans have been through a tough time not being able to come here. I know that for a fact. Employees have had a hard time not being able to come here. So that's going to be a special day. Look, we're going to continue to do all the things we've always done, support the hockey community, celebrate the state of hockey. But, I'd be remiss if I didn't say the one thing and very important thing we haven't delivered is a Stanley Cup to the state of hockey. I know for sure that is the most important thing to Craig, is to win a Stanley Cup for the state of hockey.
I can assure you that I'm not quitting, and I'm not going to give up, and neither will our players. You know, our fans need to hold us to that. It's that important to win a Stanley Cup and bring it back to this market, to share it with the people who have made this entire business work.
I think he believed in my plan and what I intended to do here. And it's not just to say that you want to win a Stanley Cup, it's to have a plan that you can put in place to eventually get there. And everything starts at the top. Everything starts at the top, no matter what business you're in. We're going to name your new captain today. It is my honor to give one of the biggest honors you can get in the game of hockey to Jared Spurgeon.
Setting up out front. Spurgeon waits. Fires, scores! Jared Spurgeon ties it for the Wild!
That Stanley Cup, and we're all working our I can't say that. We're trying our best to bring it back here, and it's all of our dreams and our goal, and that's what we're focused on right now. I think this city would shut down for a week, and it would be awesome. That's the dream of everyone in that locker room and in this organization, to bring it home to all the fans.
Well, after the North Stars left, you know, you're not sure if the city's going to get another crack at it. And we have. You know, that stuff's all in the past, so we're looking forward, and we want to win a championship. And we're going to do the right things that we feel need to be done in order to do that.
I think they're dying to see it. I mean, I think in any sport, really. I mean, you can tell with the Twins, the Vikings, they want a winner.
Kaprizov, he's in, he shoots, he scores! Kaprizov, in his Wild debut, wins it in overtime, 4-3.
Bill We're not happy just to participate. That's not the business that we're in. We're in the business of winning, and that's what we want to deliver.